of every pie, right? I realized like the Rockefeller, right? Like I'd rather have 1% from 100 guys than 100% from me. Like, I heard that long time ago, and I didn't really start putting it into action until a couple of years ago, which I regret. but that's why we're here now, right? I realized that I didn't want to do it all. I couldn't do it all. So, having a piece of a bunch of deals where other people are helping out with part of that process, whether it be management or, whether the rehab or acquisitions, whatever it is, I don't need to do it all, and I don't want to do it all. And there's plenty in these multifamily deals for other people to make money too. So we might as well spread the wealth around, let some other people make some money and do more deals.
Welcome to the Accelerated Investor Podcast with Josh Cantwell. If you love entrepreneurship and investing in real estate, then you are in the right place. Josh is the CEO of Freeland Ventures Real Estate Private Equity and has personally invested in well over 500 properties all across the country. He's also made hundreds of private lender loans and owns over 1,000 units of apartments. Josh is an expert at raising private money for deals, and he prides himself on never having had a boss in his entire adult life. Josh and his team also mentor investors and entrepreneurs from all over the world. He doesn't dream about doing deals. He actually does them, and so do his listeners and students. Now sit back, listen, learn, and accelerate your business, your life, and your investing with the Accelerated Investor Podcast.
So hey, welcome back to Accelerated Investor. How are you today? I'm so excited that you could join me for this interview, whether you are on a walk, at the gym, in the car, wherever you're at. I'm so excited to be part of your journey as a real estate investor, as an entrepreneur, as a founder, creating cash flow, buying multifamily, whatever it is that you're into, raising private money. We're here to bring you tips and strategies and expert interviews to help you along your journey. I'm here today with a special guest. His name is Jim Huntzicker. He operates out of the Chicagoland market. He's done over 450 real estate transactions. He has built his business in the local Chicago area to be doing 10 to 12 to 14 rehabs at one time. He successfully built that business. Today, he is focused on being a CEO, building his companies and building them in virtual markets. So we're going to talk today with Jim about his wholesaling operation that he runs in Florida, even though he is personally located in Chicago, and his multifamily investments that he has throughout the country. We're going to talk to you about investing in other markets, picking markets, and why sometimes investing outside of your backyard is the best way to build a business without you as a true CEO. So Jim, welcome to Accelerated Investor. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on.
You bet, absolutely. So we were kind of getting ready for this interview. I think this is the third or fourth time we tried to schedule this interview. So we've gotten to know each other a little bit more as we've started with our schedules and things. But I was interested. I talked to Jim about many different things he's worked on. This $1 million assignment fee that you got from an apartment, your rehabs, your virtual investing as a wholesaling business. I guess, Jim, let's start by just telling me and telling our audience, what are you focused on right now that really kind of gets you up in the morning, that drives your passion for the business? What kind of is exciting and new in your real estate business right now in 2019?
Yeah, like being the CEO, like looking at the business from that perspective I did that a couple of years ago, and it was only because the businesses I built, like including that rehab business, I was doing like 15 rehabs at a time, and these were not little rehabs. I'm in suburban Chicago. They're like 3,000 square foot houses. My average rehab cost was $80,000. It wasn't like They were small little ones, and I've done rehabs up to like $450,000 on cool old Victorians, But that business was I was very involved in that, and more I tried to step away, and I did it. But stuff, just like anything, it slipped through the cracks. There's a lot of moving parts with that business, and I was able to do it, but I stopped that rehabbing business anyway. One, it took a lot of my time, and in my area, it's not the right market for that business anymore. We have to pay way too much for the houses, so I hung that up about a year and a half ago. As far as doing that in Chicago, because it just wasn't the right place, and I was too involved. Like the way I am, like a lot of people, a lot of us entrepreneurs, we want to be in. We like doing stuff. That's why we're entrepreneurs. We like being involved, and so. But as I got older and I had kids, I wanted to be less involved, and I wanted to hang out with my kids more and be at home more often. And so that's when I really looked at the business from like a CEO perspective, because that's a great, that's a huge changed for a lot of us because a lot of us are by ourselves in our offices, whatever, and so building a business that I was not involved in, that I could go take 2 months off and come back and everything would be the same. That's been my focus for the last 2 years, is building stuff that I'm not involved with.
There you go.
Me, that meant doing business outside of my state and outside of my area.
So it's interesting that you took the tact of saying, look, I'm literally going to build something outside of my area on purpose, so I can't get in the muck, can't get in the day-to-day. So what was that like in the first, when you made the decision to build a business in Florida, you're living in Chicago? Tell me about some of the anxiety, some of the stress that went with that, and what were some of the challenges and some of the early successes in doing something virtually?
Well, let's talk about, it wasn't the first market I tried because, they're just like any of us, like nobody's got it right on the first try. Like nobody does, right? I mean, maybe once in a while, but you learn from your mistakes. And
right.
And I tried it and it worked on some level, but it was in Oregon, which I knew nothing about that market other than it was just crazy hot at the time. And so, you have to find people on the ground, you have to find team members and partners. And so why I built that, there was so much, like Oregon specifically, it was such a hot market, and there were so many people there. If you didn't know the comps and the value inside and out, backwards and forwards, which I was learning, it was fine, but it was challenging because it was such a hot market. And so that's one thing I learned there. Like, hey, I got to go somewhere. Well, maybe there's not as many people because the market in Washington and Oregon, the last couple of years,
crazy.
Everybody knows it's been crazy. So I went there by design and I left there by design because this is not for me virtually. There's got to be another market.
But you learn from that experience. That's the
Exactly.
biggest thing, is what you applied to the next step, right?
And then Florida, like I go to Florida anyway all the time with my family. And so, and I know there's a huge opportunity in Florida. It seems like there's something coming out of the woodwork with all the real estate investors that come out of Tampa,
Right. Guru capital of the country, for sure.
Seriously, man. Knowing that I'm doing a lot of research on it, wasn't just because of that. I mean, I know the Florida market pretty well. And so it just made a lot of sense to get there. And so, just putting all the pieces in order. I mean, now we have a team of about 10 employees in that business, and it's just cranking now. And so it's just that market right now is kind of peaking, and it's about to tip. It might be a year and a half before it actually goes all the way over, but it's probably not even going to be that long. So
Okay.
now we're in a great position there for when the market does tank, or at least take a correction. Let's not call it tank. Let's hope it's just a correction.
Yeah. So Jim, what was it like the first couple of people? Like, did you strategically picked Florida? You learned from your trial in the Oregon-Washington market. What were the first couple of building blocks to building a virtual wholesaling business in another state?
Well,
was it software? Right? Was it people? Was it leads?
Yeah.
Was it picking
Software.
a market?
Yeah.
Was it boots on the ground? What was the first couple steps?
Well, software, like building softwares that would, that were proprietary for my business, for my leads. And so getting software so that I didn't want to buy leads where everybody was buying leads from. I've done that before and it works. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to be doing 10 deals a month. I want to be doing 50, right? And so
Yeah.
The only way you're going to be doing 50 deals a month is using some proprietary software that everybody doesn't have access to. And so spent the first several months building that and several $1,000s. And so you don't have to do that to get started, but because you can buy leads from all the lead sources and you can make that work. I just do that, if you want to do 50 deals a month or, do something at a larger level, you're going to have your own data and your own software. So
sure.
That was the first step. And then but really I should say finding the right team members was really the first step. Like finding people that I could trust on the ground that, when we started with buying the normal data from all the lead sources, everybody knows ListSource or whatever. And, stacking that data and finding all the people that were on multiple lists. That's how I started. And then, which was great. It went fine. And then we just took it to the next level once we started bringing some money in.
Got it. So boots on the ground has to be important, right? Because and it's interesting, we talk about, you being a CEO in Chicago and you doing deals in Florida, like that's not weird, meaning like most major company CEOs run a business and they do business all over the world, right? All over the country, and they're not in the middle of every single transaction. So let's dispel the myth that to be a CEO, you have to be in your own backyard. That doesn't have to happen. But in order to evaluate deals, right, run meetings with sellers, pull comps, find deals, you've got to have boots on the ground. So how were you successful? Was it through maybe Facebook groups or referrals or realtors? How did you start to build your team down there?
all of that networking, and just relationships I already had, some people I already knew that I knew were good operators down there that I approached to partner up with. Of course, you have to bring something to the table. You can't just, partner up with somebody because you want to.
Right.
Yeah, you got to bring something to the table on your own. So it was just, I've been doing this since 2005. I've been in a lot of high-level masterminds, like a lot of us have, and I knew a lot of the right people I wanted to get in touch with. And being at this point in my career and life, even some of the people that might have been the right partners weren't the right fit for me, right? Because I know how my mind works, and I know my strengths, and more importantly, I know my weaknesses, right? And so knowing that, I knew some guys that might be a great fit for what I need wouldn't be a long-term fit for me. So I had to kind of evaluate those options and then approach the people I thought would be a good fit. Because everybody's not a good fit to work together. And I was an agent early on in my life, and I realized, and I would tell people that, like in listing appointments, like, hey, everybody's not a good fit to work together. Like, we might not be you might think in your head right now, like, this guy is a jerk, get him out of here. Usually that would make them laugh, but that's true. Like, that was sincere. Like, I didn't want to work with a jerk, so I would put that out there because it's mutual, right? Like, we got to feel each other out here to make sure it's a good fit. So making sure your team member, just because they can do what you want them to do, doesn't mean they're the right fit for your business, right? So making sure you evaluate partners is big, because we've all been in partnerships that sucked, that have, that we thought were going to be great, and they just turned out to be garbage. And so, really vetting and evaluating the partners that I decided to approach was a huge, huge part of this.
There you go. So how do you keep control over a virtual business? So what I've found, when you kind of control, I call it the 2 M's, the money and the marketing, right?
Yeah.
If you control the marketing, control lead flow, and control the money that either funds deals or funds the business, funds the operation, funds marketing, money and marketing, you can often control lots of levers, and you don't have to necessarily be right there. So what was it like for you, and how do you keep some control and some oversight over it now?
The lead control is exactly it. Like without there's a couple aspects of the business that I have to control, and I kept it that way. But I can control it from anywhere in the world, so that doesn't really matter. I can control it from the beach. I can control it from my phone, the stuff that I need to do.
Right.
And I've kept it that way intentionally, so that way not all the employees don't know. They don't all talk because they do different things. I have guys that are just data mining. I have guys that are just dialing. I have guys that are on the ground that are field ops. And so everybody doesn't get to communicate with everybody because they don't have to. Right. I keep everybody a little separate. They all know each other exist, but. And with the team, I always keep for instance, like a dialing team, right? We have 5 people dialing, but there's basically one that's all I can always get rid of. Meaning, like, I probably 4 is what I need, 4 strong ones, but I keep a 5th one because I will get rid of one at any one time that like they're dialing, their lead conversion wasn't great that week, or 2 weeks in a row, gone. So that way it keeps everybody else on their toes, and so that's nice. Part of it, like. Something that people don't like to do. Like, I don't get a thrill from firing people. It's not something I like to do, but it does keep everybody else on their toes. And if their performance, I'm paying them for performance. If their performance isn't good, they're gone. And everybody else needs to understand that, so they keep on their toes. Because otherwise, he's not really paying attention. We don't have to make as many calls, and all of a sudden they're taking longer breaks, and the lead conversion goes down. So, like for example, I brought one on recently, and she was really nice. This was unfortunate that she had a. Anyway, lots of stuff that was going on in her life, but,
sure.
And I think it was affecting her lead conversion, right? Like, and so I felt terrible that somebody had passed away in her life, but that, like, I told all the other VAs or virtual assistants that I feel terrible about this, but I had to let her go because her lead conversion was down. And I think it's probably because she's too focused on her father passing away. And I said, as hard as that is for me, it's a business to run. And I said, I can't keep paying her. And look at her lead count is less than half of everybody else's. Yeah. So everybody understood, but that was very clear to everybody that I'm not messing around. I'm not here to have friends or make, like, I'm paying them to convert leads, and that's it. And so because of the situation, like I said, I don't take it very lightly, because and that was really, I could tell every single one that I kept on, it was registered loud and clear that they have to convert if they want to keep their job.
Yeah. My newest and most powerful real estate investing book, The Flip System, is now available. And for a limited time, you can grab your free copy at getflipsystem.com/podcast. Using the same proven principles, secrets, and investing strategies I'm sharing in this book, I've been able to personally close over 750 highly profitable real estate deals over the last 15 years, make over 400 private lender loans, raise over $30 million of private money, and acquire over 2,000 units of apartments. Get my newest book now for free for a limited time at getflipsystem.com/podcast. That's getflipsystem.com/podcast. So Jim, as you talk about building that business, we talked offline before we got prepared for this interview, that your style of investing in your backyard, being in the business versus being more of a CEO running virtual businesses, a lot of it has to do with your lifestyle, kids, watching your kids grow up, being more available as a father. Tell me about that. And sometimes we have to make changes and maybe even take a step back to evaluate where we're at, to reevaluate where we're going to go. What does the lifestyle want to look like? What I think about, Jim, is my mom. My mom said to me long ago, she said, I felt like I was married. My mom and dad have been married 52 years. And she says, I felt like I was married to a different man every 5 years because you kids would change about every 5 years, or we started a new business, or someone passed away, or the kids, one of you guys moved out of the house. Life just finds a way to change. And you're in a situation now where very successful at rehabbing, 450 transactions, but you said, look, I've got to do some things different. So tell me about that in your business, and what else have you done? I know you started investing more in multifamily, looking for more cash flow. Tell me about that lifestyle change, and has that happened before? Maybe when you were single going to married, or married having kids. And what kind of advice would you give other people going through that same lifestyle kind of pivot? Maybe a big life event happens for them.
Yeah, for me, it's been the major change. My kids, I have twins that are 8 years old now, but back in 2011 when they were born, that changed everything for that. It's like as soon as they were here, it changed everything. And so my whole perspective changed. I quit golfing because I wasn't that good at it anyway. And I knew I just had twins. I wasn't going to be able to go out and golf all the time. Like my wife's at home with twins. I couldn't do it. So I gave it up. I mean, I don't plan to give it up forever, but I gave it up for a while. So it wasn't even on my radar of something I thought that I had to do. And so I made some big lifestyle changes like that when my kids were born. And that also, for me, I was like the business, I worked, up until that point, I was willing to work 7 days a week. We didn't have any kids. I was building businesses. I'm an entrepreneur, and I wanted to get stuff done. And things were going great, so I was just full throttle. And then the kids came, and I was like, I need to pull back. I don't need to. Money was the driving factor up until my kids were born, because I thought that was the most important thing. And after they came, it's important. I need money to live, but it's no longer the focus of everything that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create time with my family is what was the most important thing to me. So everything I do is based, that's why I started a business in Florida. That's why I look for multifamily outside of my area. One, because Cook County in Illinois sucks for tenant, for being a landlord. But also, I knew I would be involved because that's just how I am. I don't talk this fast because I want to. It's just how I'm wired, right?
Sure.
Always say, you drink coffee, caffeine. Look, some people are just wired this way. I'm a little faster than normal, and that's just the way it is. And so for me to kind of wind down, it took having kids for me to be to pull back, wait, there's more things to life than money and business and being well known. And so I kind of turned everything around. My whole perspective changed when I had kids, and it's been the best thing that ever happened to me, because I no longer was focused on driving for money. And it's funny when you have that change, everything changes, right? For me, just how you look at things and how things start coming to you. It's funny how the world works.
Yeah, and also I think it forces you to level up, because now you want to have more cash flow. You don't want to necessarily take a step back financially, but you also don't want to do the amount of individual transactions or individual maybe rehabs. For me, the further I got along in the business, the less transactional I became, because I wanted more things that paid me consistent cash flow, right? I started paying attention more to Wall Street, and Wall Street values companies based on contractual cash flow, things that are coming in on a recurring basis. Now, I wasn't going to go start a new e-commerce business. I'm not that smart, right, to start a new tech company. But I know that multifamily is a very similar way to own cash flow. It sounds like you made that same decision, and you specifically said, I'm going to own it outside of my area, maybe with partners, maybe with another operator, where you could bring some parts of the puzzle together, and you could get paid, joint venture on deals and have cash flow from that to be able to, again, spend more time with your kids. And then maybe you'll take up golf again. But really a lifestyle decision. I find these lifestyle decisions force us to be more strategic about what we will do with our time, because we put a cap on our time. Is that kind of how it went for you too?
Yeah. Maybe be more resourceful. Like, I mean, stuff like just as easy as taking pictures hey, I haven't seen this property. I can't get a good, shot on Google Maps. You can hire somebody anywhere in the country to take pictures for you in about 10 minutes on Craigslist. I mean, I never did that in my own area. Like, I could have done it here too, but I didn't. I either had a team member, I did it, but it forced me to have to find somebody else to do it. And it's easy. It was like $20 I could pay somebody, and then I would have pictures within 3 hours. I mean, anywhere. It was just wild that it just forced me to be more resourceful, and then I got all my time back. I mean, I don't work a ton. Like, I'm still in my office. I still work. It's just, it's not anywhere near as intense as it used to be. And if I do take 3 days off in a row, it doesn't really matter.
Right. So tell me about your passion for multifamily now. You're looking for multifamily all over the country, joint venture partnerships, private investors, very similar to what we do. Tell me about that passion. What are you doing to find deals? What kind of areas are you looking at? What size buildings?
Yeah, I'm looking for stuff that, like I realized to evaluate, a 10, 20 unit building or 120 unit doesn't really take any more of my time. So I really look for, a minimum of 100 units because it doesn't take any more of my time to evaluate, right? I mean, know that. It's funny that like you start like everybody, you're like, well, I don't want a duplex quad, which I have those, right? And that's when I was starting to stack them slowly. And I was like, this is taking forever. I was growing years ago. So I'm going to stop that. Let me learn about multifamily. This is back 2012, 13. And then I studied that for a couple of years and jumped in 2015. But yeah, so we're looking for strategic partners around the country is what I'm doing now is finding people that have deals that they don't know how to finance or don't know how to rehab or they're scared to and they want to stay in the deal. And that's why I'm on these, doing these podcast interviews because there's people all over that we will buy the deals from you as a wholesale if that's all you want. But most people we've realized they'd like to stay in the deal for the cash flow. And that's why I got into it is for the cash flow. Just like you're saying, like I'm setting up as much multifamily as possible so I can have as much residual income as I can, and that is my focus. The wholesaling business in Florida is because there's an opportunity there. I know how to do it, so I did it. Right. But my goal is to take all the money from that business is going into multifamily. That's my goal is to have 5,000 units in the next 10 years.
There you go. Yeah, and it takes big multifamily deals, 100 units, 200 units, 400 units, whatever it is. It takes a team. I actually just had lunch yesterday with two operating partners, one of our guys that's a general partner with us, our banker, myself, my business partner, and then one of our acquisitions guys, all sitting around the table, and we're just talking, we're having fun. Guys were in from out of town, and we're just thinking about, and I kind of left the meeting thinking like, wow, each one of us at the table, we have some overlapping skill, but pretty much everybody at the table does something different, right? One guy is an acquisitions manager. Another guy is the operator that's dealing with contractors. Another guys are more focused on finance. Another guy's focused on asset management. That's really how multifamily deals are done. Very rarely do you buy a 200 unit all by yourself, raise all the money by yourself, sponsor the loan all by yourself, do all the rehab all by yourself. It just doesn't really work that way. There are a few guys I know that have done that, and like they're hustling, right? They're hustling to do everything. Now they might have a massive building, a $12 million deal that's going to be all theirs, which is great. You only need one of those in your lifetime to be financially set, but it's a lot of work. So tell me a little bit more about your structure. Like, are there specific parts of those different job descriptions that you like to play in, or do you kind of play in different parts depending on the deal?
Now, like bringing the deals to the table is really like what I focus on, like doing the day-to-day and the management. And that, like I have management, companies that we use, locally sometimes. So there's national companies. And same thing with contractors. It just depends on the deal, how big it is, what the contractors, if we can find good ones locally, will usually be a little more reasonable, which I know that stuff, right? Sure. And so the national contractors are going to be a little more expensive, but the quality of the work generally is a little better. But yeah, I don't need every piece of every pie, right? I realized like the Rockefeller, right? Like I'd rather have 1% from 100 guys than 100% from me. Like, I heard that long time ago. Right. And I didn't really start putting it into action until a couple of years ago, which I regret. but that's why we're here now, right? I realized that I didn't want to do it all. I couldn't do it all. So, having a piece of a bunch of deals where other people are helping out with part of that process, whether it be management or, the rehab or acquisitions, whatever it is, I don't need to do it all, and I don't want to do it all. And there's plenty in these multifamily deals for other people to make money too. So we might as well spread the wealth around, let some other people make some money and do more deals.
Right. What I found too about multifamily that has allowed me to do, and the other guys I've invested with, which the single families were great. Like, we still fund a ton of single family flips. We're still a huge private lender. But what I found from the cash flow from multifamily has allowed us, because it's not like full time. Like, you might close, if you're really good, you might close 6 big multifamily deals a year, right? If you're really good. If you're really, really good, maybe you close once a month, but an average operator is maybe going to close 2 or 3 a year, right? A 200 unit, a 300 unit, a 100 unit. If you're adding 2, 3, 4, 500 units to your portfolio a year, you're really doing really well, right? So it's not really a full-time job. So building the cash flow, doing a deal, spinning it up, getting permanent financing for it when it's stabilized. What I found, what I love about it is it allows me to focus on some other things, my real passions in life. Like, I love to coach volleyball. I love to coach volleyball. I would love to eventually go teach at the local college where I went to school and played college football, teach finance to these kids, because I don't think they're getting like a real world finance education in today's. What has some of these lifestyle choices allowed you to do besides, take care of your immediate family, kids, being home for them, not playing golf? Are you able to pursue more of those passions now? And what do you like to do?
Yeah. No, I got there's stuff. I plan on writing a book here at some point in the future, just about actually, I won't write it. I'll hire somebody to write it for me because I'm not a writer.
Sure.
But I'll hire a ghostwriter that can go through it. And it's just stuff, that I've been through in my life, like just things that will help other people. Like, I think like a lot of us get to the point where we do just want to give back. And it's not even real estate. You're talking about, volleyball and finances, right? Mine's more like people that I quit before my kids were born. I took 3 months off of drinking, which a lot of us do, right? I used to take a month off a year.
Yeah.
Just to make sure I could, right?
Right.
I was having twins. And I'm like, crap. So I took 3 months off and I never went back. That wasn't my intention. I planned on going back at some point, and I just like life better without it. I lost 60 pounds since then. I work out. I'm a lot healthier than I've ever been. I just like life better without it. It's funny how stuff like that happens. But people reach out to me all the time to ask me how I quit drinking and did you do this or do that? I said, I just quit. I just decided I didn't want to do it. I never did it again. Yeah. But it's just mindset. Like, it's simple mindset stuff that, people think you have to, what the biggest thing for me about that one little thing, when I thought every time I thought about drinking again, which I just didn't want to for health, right? It was about other people. Like, other people wanted me to drink, so I'm like, wait, am I going to keep drinking for other people? This is the stupidest thing I've ever, once I realized that, it was the easiest decision I've ever made. I'm like, I'm done. Yeah. And this has been 8 years and I don't even look back or care about it. And it's funny that people from high school that know that I quit or whatever, everybody's always like, how'd you do it? Was it AA or was it this or was it that? And it was none of that. I didn't have a problem. I just quit. I quit because I wanted to, like anybody can. And so there's stuff like that, like quitting, and I've changed my lifestyle stuff. Like I said, I lost a lot of weight. I'm in pretty good shape these days, which I wasn't always. And I've made a lot of good, positive changes in my life, and I like to share the way to do that. So eventually I will figure out how I do that. But that is a passion of mine, to help other people too. And mine will be with how to just mind over matter. Just if you want to quit doing stuff for other people, everything you don't want to, if you don't want to do something, it's just because you're still doing it for other people in most cases. Especially the big one, I say probably 2 people a year reach out to me about stopping drinking. Not like I was some big crazy drinker. Yeah. They just know that I don't. They want to know how to stop. I'm like, stop. That's it. You just stop.
What I found is if I don't have, because I don't really booze that much right now. Last year I actually went through a bunch of crazy stuff with my dad being diagnosed with Parkinson's and some other crazy shit that happened. Was drinking more than normal. And what I found is this year I was like, you know what? I just don't. Everyone's got a cup, right? And the cup can only be so full. Even if you're operating at 100% capacity, you can only fit so much stuff in the cup. And if you want to fit something new in, you got to take something else out. And for you, like you said, you took golf out, you took drinking out. Like when I had kids, I stopped gambling. I used to love to go to Vegas, $5,000, not a huge thing, but $5,000. I'm like, now, even if I lost $500 and made $5,000, losing $500 gave me anxiety because I felt like I was taking it away from my kids, right? Sure. I got more anxiety over losing money than making 10 times that, which just wasn't exciting. So I took it out of the cup and stopped doing it. Yeah. Same thing with now. I don't really drink that much, but I got rid of golf this year. I picked up the sticks one time just to play with my son because he wanted to go. So you gotta, and I think that's part of my mom's advice. Every 5 years, I felt like I was married to a different man. It sounds like, things come and things go, but depending on, the lifestyle that you want to lead today, it doesn't mean you can't go back to golf or can't go back to having some fun and partying a little bit. But what's important right now, like right now, lately for me, the last month or so, I've been swimming like 4 days a week in the mornings. I used to work out. I kind of got bored with my workouts, like same thing every couple days, getting in the gym, same workout, same routine. Just wanted to mix it up. So one day I bought new goggles, jumped in the pool. I'm like, 2 days later, I was like, wow, my whole body is sore. Like I'm really sore all over the place. Like this feels new. It feels different. Let me try this again. Jump back in the pool. 3, 4, 5 days of swimming. Holy cow. Like I felt like I was thinner, more fit. My whole body feels toned because you're using every single muscle in your body, right? So I think part of being successful as a CEO is taking some time to think about what is fulfilling. Take time to think about how big is my cup? How full is it? Can I add something new? And if I am, I'm going to take something else out. Jim, to your point there, like where do you see your life going now in the future? Like now that you've had success with multifamily, now you have a successful wholesaling business. What's the next 5 years look like for you? What do you want to accomplish? Is it adding more cash flow? Is it spending more time? Is it maybe taking up some new hobbies?
Yeah, it's adding more cash flow. It's like it's funny you say swimming. They're doing a huge new park district facility right by my house that's going to have this incredible indoor pool. And I've been wanting to start swimming because it's such good exercise for years. I've just never had an easy way to do it. And now I'm going to. So that's something I plan to start doing myself in the morning. Like it's funny you say that, but I can't wait for this thing to be done so I can start swimming. Because it's like the best overall, like you said, your whole body was sore. Like it is the best overall body workout there is. Just swimming, just basic swimming. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to be an excellent swimmer. Just have to swim. Right. Just do some laps. But yeah, taking up some more hobbies. I have hobbies. I have long range shooting. I'm not like shooting a gun. I don't know why. I love it. I like it. Like maybe I'll never take up golf again and I'll go shooting more, because I just like, I like long range shooting, like, stuff that's like 300-500 yards, not your normal stuff. Right. I don't know why. It's one of those things I like,
That's very cool. Are you ready to automate and explode your real estate investing? We're searching for extremely motivated individuals who are sick and tired of wasting time and want to finally see real results from their real estate investing business. We're searching for investors looking to get to the next level and become a bigger, better version of themselves while being a more successful real estate investing entrepreneur. Apply for mentoring and coaching at joshcantwellcoaching.com/podcast. That's joshcantwellcoaching.com/podcast. Couple more questions, Jim, and then we'll wrap. But, over the last couple months that we've gotten to know each other, you've mentioned several times that you had a lot of success in real estate. People had asked you to coach them. You even put up a website and a page, where you put yourself out there to coach people. People were making applications, asking you to coach them, willing to pay you to coach them. And you went to events, people started recognizing you and saying, hey, Jim, can you coach me? And what have you done to be successful? And you really decided to go the opposite way and step back and step away from coaching, step away from the spotlight. You said it wasn't for you, it wasn't something you wanted to do, and you wanted to focus more on doing deals. Some people think like, well, if you're so successful, why do you coach? You got so successful, you started to coach, and then ultimately it just wasn't part of your kind of DNA. Tell me about your decision to actually retract from the spotlight.
Yeah, it was going well. It was one of those things like as an entrepreneur, some things you do and you fail at, some things you do well and they're not for you, and you just got to kind of you learn from that and you move on. But I was getting to be more well known and being in the spotlight. I didn't even think about it. Just being an entrepreneur, I started a business, an online business. I knew I knew I had some value I could add to people, and so bringing the coaching, I loved it because I like helping people. Just like you said, you want to teach finances, and I want to teach people about how to just do their own thing and be themselves. And like, you want to quit this or quit that, just do it. You want to quit eating poorly, just do it. But so I did not, like, the older I get, it's not that I don't want to meet people, but I didn't like being so well known or like a guru. It wasn't for me. And it's one of those byproducts of being an entrepreneur I didn't even think about. I just was go. Let's get this done. It was going really well. And all of a sudden I'm like, I don't like this. Yeah. This is not for me. Like, I don't mind, like at events, I don't mind people coming up to me talking. Like, it's not like I don't want to be talking to people. I if I kept doing it, I would get, to a status I didn't want to be at. The older I get, I don't want to know more people. I just want to, like, if anything, I keep my head down. I don't go to as many masterminds anymore, just because I'm doing deals and I'm getting it done. Like being the most, well-known person in the business is just, not something I'm interested in. In fact, the wholesale business, this is the first time I've even talked about it. I'm in the background of that. Nobody even knows who I am on that bit. Like I'm not the face of it. Nobody has any idea that I'm pulling all the strings on that business that's involved. None of the sellers know who I am. None of the buyers. Nobody knows who I am, and I like it that way.
Yeah, that's great. It's got to fit. It's got to fit the lifestyle, right? Again, talk about changing every couple of years. Jim, last question. I know we talked about, we talked about multifamily and actually owning and buying multifamily, holding multifamily for cash flow. I also know that you once wholesaled an apartment deal for a 7-figure profit, $1 million wholesale fee. Tell me about that. I'm sure our audience would love to hear how a deal like that goes down.
Yeah, it was one of those. I mean, let me just just disclaimer: this is not your average deal, or don't think you can go out there and jump in the multifamily and make
big disclaimer, right? Yeah,
seriously, because I mean, like, and I'm not one. That's another thing. Like being in the spotlight, I was having to talk about profit, and that's not something that's super comfortable for me. But the reason I'm like even talking about this one because it's huge and it's so big. It's one of those things like it's like obnoxious how big it is, but it is real. It did really happen, and because it's a real deal, I'm coming on to talk about it because I want to meet other people and help them potentially make $1 million, because I had 2 partners on that deal, or we had 3 partners on that deal. So it wasn't like the whole $1 million was mine, but I'll tell you, 266,000 of that was mine.
Yes.
And so that deal was one of those, I learned so much from that. We had it sold before we closed on it. We bought it for $1,250,000 and we sold it for 2.4 before we even closed on it. Long story short, those first buyers turned out to be attorneys that just the last week, it was a cash deal, closing on a Friday. On the Monday, they asked us for a 30-day financing extension. So we're like, whatever, give us $50,000 more, hard deposit, and we'll give you the 30 days. And like, nope, we just want the 30 days. And we're like, so ended that, kept the earnest money. Second buyer lost $200,000, like real money, lost it, gone, couldn't close. We even gave them a free 3 months in the end. I'm like, I don't want any more of your money. You have 3 months to close. If you can't close, we're keeping your $200,000 and we're moving on. And they couldn't do it.
Wow.
Moved on. Yep. Third buyer closed for 2.3. So after everything's said and done, it was, we expected to have this thing for like a month, literally. We ended up having it for a year and we still made $1 million on it. So that just goes to show you that, just keep at it because, we could have been like, oh my God, this is, and, of course our investors were like, what's going on here? It was like really 30-day money that we ended up keeping for a year, and they were fine because we were paying them monthly, and it was okay. But the long story short is that was one of those deals. We knew what we had. The first buyers, this was the problem. It was by the time. It was about 35% occupied. Okay. So nobody could get financing. Nobody, I don't care who you are, you're not getting financing for a 35% if it's occupied with only 35%.
Got to pay cash, get that thing leased up, reposition it, then refi. Yeah.
Exactly. So we needed the right buyer to come through. And so the first buyers were the right buyer, but they didn't pull the trigger for whatever reason. And second buyers, they couldn't get financing for it because it was financing. And the third buyer ended up coming with bridge financing. So but they knew what it was. We talked to him up front before we went under contract. I talked to the lender to make sure he knew what it was. We had put a couple more. We were at like 42% by that point, and he was able to close. And so, it was one of those things and that buyer, oddly enough, like how do we find that buyer? He literally walked into the door of the complex and talked to our property manager we had on site. Like there was just one of those things like,
okay. Yeah.
The second deal was falling apart. It was about done because he was at the end of the 30 days or the 90 days we gave him to close, the last 90 days. And I said, well, if it doesn't close, I'll call you. And sure enough, I called and it worked out. Just one of those things that I didn't expect it to. We had other buyers because I was sourcing buyers on my own. So we had other buyers that I was like, okay, but they just didn't seem as serious. Like I could tell it wasn't on their radar where they weren't really paying enough attention. And it was one of those things I had to cut out a buyer that I personally liked because I could tell it wasn't on his radar enough to pay. And to me, it was very important. We were a year into a 30-day deal. I needed a buyer that I was going to have all their attention. So I had to cut somebody out of this deal that I really liked and respected, and I wanted to sell it to a buyer I could tell was more hungry because it was that was a 91-unit building.
Okay.
And the buyer that I had that I knew was buying big stuff, 200, 300, 400, and he's just a big time. And so it was one of those things it was a hard decision to make to pull the plug on somebody I respected and I wanted to sell this deal to. At the same time, I I knew that it wasn't big enough for him. And the guy
Right.
that I was selling to, it was a big deal. He was moving him and his wife were going to stay there for 6 months during the rehab. Like, it was a big deal to this guy who already had 3,000 units. So it wasn't like he was a small operator.
Right.
And so anyway, long story short, we sold it to this third buyer, and who walked in the door, and it was just one of those things that out the door we made $1 million, $266,000 a piece is what we made.
Nice, good for you. It's amazing though when you kind of focus in on one thing, like when you're focused on multifamily and all you're thinking is multifamily, and then all of a sudden like new types of lenders come out of the woodwork, and new private lenders come out of the woodwork, and deals come out of the woodwork, and operators come out of the woodwork. Because you kind of plant your flag and say, this is who we are, this is what we're going to focus on. And that's what we're finding ourselves doing, now over the last 18 months or so. We've accumulated 2,200 units of apartments. We're really focused on apartments, and we're focused on lending on apartments and buying apartments and funding deals for other people and recruiting private capital for apartments, finding operators for apartments just like you. And all of a sudden it's like, now we have this new lender, and now we have this new private investor, and now somebody's telling somebody else about us that brings us a deal. And it really comes down to focus. So tell our audience, as we kind of wrap here, Jim, tell our audience about how to get a hold of you to partner with you on apartments, what kind of apartment deals you're looking for, what you could need to build your team. And I would love it if some of our audience reached out to you and you guys did some deals together.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking for stuff anywhere in the country except Cook County. Well, I'm just kidding. I would do Cook County,
Right?
But the deal's got to be so ridiculously good. And it's just the taxes here. I'll give you an example. Let me just give you a quick example. I have an apartment complex in Oklahoma that's on 4 acres. It's 13 buildings. And the taxes, I am not kidding, I shit you not, are less than my house in Cook County, Illinois. And I don't have a huge house. I have a 1/4 acre lot. It's not a crazy big house, not crazy expensive. And my taxes are less on the apartment complex than they are on my house. So think about what a complex would be here. It's ridiculous how much the taxes are.
Yeah.
And so it's just a lot of times the numbers don't make sense because the taxes are so out of whack here. But anyway, anywhere in the country, 100 units or more. I mean, I would look at something a little small, if it's 90 units, I would look at that. But really, we're looking for 100 units or more. And we want to keep people in the deals. I'm looking for local operators that want to stay in deals. You can't get them financed, or you don't know how, or you don't have the management team or the construction team. We have it all. And so if it's something you want to do, you want to stay in the deal, and you feel like somebody that talks as fast as I do, that moves as fast as I do, if that would be something you want to talk to, give me a call. You can reach me directly. And
what's your number? What's the best way to reach you? Phone number, email, website? What does that look like?
I'm going to give a phone number. It's a direct line to me, and I'm going to give you an email.
Perfect.
So the email is, the phone number is 847-772-5302. That's a direct line. You're going to get me. This is not like you're going to get an assistant who's going to put you off to somebody who's going to take a questionnaire. If you have a real deal, call me. I want to talk to you about it. I want to finance it. I want to do it. So get me on the phone. And my email is my name. It's jim@jimhuntzicker.com. It's JIM@JIMHUNTZICKER.com. Just shoot me an email. Hit me up. Let's do some deals. There's so many multifamily deal opportunities out there right now. And what I realize, a lot of people don't know if it's a deal or not. Like I said, it doesn't take much time to evaluate these deals. So you just give me a call. We'll get them evaluated the same day and see if it's something that's even an option. And then we know if we can do it or not.
That's fantastic. Jim, so any final parting shots, words of advice, things you would have done differently before we wrap up here?
You said something that just a few minutes ago about focus. Like, the difference between people that, make it and people that don't is laser focus on what you want, right? And so even in myself early on and even recently, we as entrepreneurs, we get a couple things in front of us, and it's like we give a little bit of attention to a couple things and we do mediocre at all of it. But that's why I do 2 things right now. I have a wholesaling business and I do multifamily. That's it. There's nothing else in my life that I do for income, because those are my 2 focuses. Because if I added a third one in, I wouldn't be as good at the first 2.
Right.
And so that in the wholesaling business, I built that for quick cash flow, because sometimes with multifamily, you don't get it as quick. If you're doing a major renovation, it might take you, 6-8 months to start getting some money out of that. And so, but focus, just stay focused on what you're doing and believe in yourself, because a lot of times as an entrepreneur, it's a lonely place where you think, you're going to give up and go back to some corporate job or whatever. And you just gotta, if you believe in yourself, just keep pushing through.
That's fantastic. Jim, thanks so much for being on Accelerated Investor. I had an absolute blast getting to know you even more, doing this interview. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Josh Cantwell and the Accelerated Investor Podcast. Leave a comment on our iTunes channel and let us know what you want to learn next or who you'd like Josh to interview. While you're there, give us a 5-star rating and make sure to subscribe so you can be the first to hear new episodes. Follow Josh Cantwell and his companies, Strategic Real Estate Coach and Freeland Ventures, on all social media platforms now, and stay up to date on new training and investment opportunities. To start your journey toward the lifestyle you've always dreamed of, apply for coaching at joshcantwellcoaching.com.